Your top stories this evening sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. Lots are in store for you. Gaisuku tells East Coast sugar workers. WPA says there is no Ministry of the Public Service. Harman says there is such a ministry. I rest my case. And GWI to introduce new technology to prevent water wastage. HGP Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Friday, July 7 edition of the HGP Nightly News. Here's what's happening. Minister of State Joseph Harman on Friday shut down claims recently raised by the Working People's Alliance with regards to the new role of Dr. Rupert Roopnarine. Rodin James reports.
The Working People's Alliance is still making an issue of the reassignment of Dr. Rupert Roopnarine from the Ministry of Education to the Ministry of the Public Service. The shifting of Dr. Roopnarine is seemingly hurting that party, so much so that Dr. David Hines on Tuesday stated that the ministry in which Dr. Roopnarine was moved to is non-existent.
To the best of our knowledge, there is no actual Ministry of the Public Service. There's no staff. We understand that there is a building, but no preparation was made for Dr. Roopnarine to begin his job. That is as far as we know.
When Minister Joseph Harman met with the media on Friday for his weekly post-cabinet media briefing, Nightly News questioned him on the issue.
It is now public knowledge that Dr. Roopnarine was transferred to the Ministry of Public Service. On Tuesday, the Working People's Alliance alleged that there is no such ministry as the Ministry of the Public Service. In fact, the party said that there is just a building. And so I just need some clarity on that.
Whether somebody or some group feels that this is not the case, that there is no such ministry, well, the President has made the announcement and there is such a ministry.
Mr. Harman noted that the President already explained the matter at length, and on that note, he rested the case.
Dr. Roopnarine is on leave presently. When he reports for duty, he'll be going into a ministry. I can say that to you.
A statement from the Ministry of the Presidency stated that the reassignment of Dr. Roopnarine and the elevation of Minister Nicolette Henry is in keeping with the government's plan to have a more effective public service. The WPA, however, suggests it's more than that. In fact, Dr. David Hines said the coalition thinks that Dr. Roopnarine was performing poorly, and that clearly was not the case. Royden James, HGP Nightly News.
Thank you, Royden. Interventions are being put into place to alleviate the burden of farmers who are suffering because of the flooding caused by heavy rainfall over the past month. But it appears bleak for residents in Region 9, which is being affected by heavy rains in North Brazil. Christine Macklingam reports.
Due to excessive rainfall during the past month, the water levels rose sharply in the upper reaches of the Kanji River and adversely affected areas which are not declared drainage and irrigation locations. That's what Agriculture Minister Noel Holder says.
The result of this is farmers who have or cattle owners, who have their animals grazing in common on these pastures. The pastures are totally inundated. Normally, this area would drain into the Kanji, but now the Kanji is overflowing its banks and flooding them out. So the cattle populations, to some extent, are in jeopardy.
Minister Holder explained that farmers have complained thus far of thousands of their cattle dying as a direct result of the flooding.
That is an area of concern because it's not a DNI area. It cannot be drained into the Kanji because the Kanji is now overflowing. So we've had to send a battery of engineers to look at the system and see what could be done. And what we have done is essentially to put a number of additional pumps.
Meanwhile, in Region 9, many locations are underwater, but along the entire coast, water has actually receded except in Region 6. Water has receded in Region 7 and 8, and there is minor flooding in Region 10. That's according to Director General of the Civil Defense Force, Chabilal Ramsaroop.
But what we discovered is that the water in the Rio Branco is rising because of heavy rainfall in North Brazil. There has been sunshine nearly for the entire week in Region 9. The water has fallen somewhat in the Letem area, but all the other sub-regions are flooded.
The CDC has advised all farmers in Region 9 to reap all their crops which are at the stage at which they can be reaped, and that while there is no food shortage in that region at present, should the rainfall continue in North Brazil, then it is a possibility that the region will encounter food issues. Reporting for HGP Nightly News, I am Kristen Macklingam.
You're watching the HGP Nightly News. Thanks for staying with us. East Coast sugar workers were on Thursday brought up to speed with GAISUCO and the government's plan for the East Coast sugar estates. Lots are in store for you, the sugar workers were told. More from Royden James.
Starting from 2018, GAISUCO will become the new GAISUCO. The new GAISUCO aims to become a sustainable and profitable agribusiness and will include the production of sugar and other diversification ventures. Addressing hundreds of East Coast sugar workers late Thursday afternoon, GAISUCO's Senior Communication Officer, Mrs. Audriana Thomas, empathized with the sugar workers over the planned scaling down of operations before assuring them that lots are in store for them. Thomas explained the reason why the Sugar Corporation is reorganizing.
There are a few reasons why we're reorganizing. One, GAISUCO has found itself in a position where it has a huge debt. Last year, the debt was about over 80 billion. We've since reduced that to 78 billion. The other reason, you might have seen last week, we circulated a press release on the price of sugar. The price of sugar at the moment is very low. So the low price of sugar, the low market price, that's also another influencing factor.
Mrs. Thomas also spoke of the diversification ventures that the corporation will be heading into, noting that Wales Estate is the pilot for some of the ventures before the corporation determines the scale of which it can expand. So far, the corporation has planted seed paddy and is expected to be sold to the Rice Board in September.
We also have an aquaculture venture that GAISUCO will be getting involved in.
The corporation will also be going into dairy farming and fruit orchard project, Mrs. Thomas explained. She also spoke of the opportunities that will be available for employees through the reorganization.
Some employees will be retained to maintain lands now owned by the estate, because we have to maintain the lands. So some employees will be retained. Lands will be leased to employees who are interested in farming, etc.
Another European Union study is currently being done to provide GAISUCO with information on how the corporation can transition employees from being workers of GAISUCO to become farmers. The workers raised various concerns to which the corporation's top brass provided answers. The meeting ended in good faith. Royden James, HGP Nightly News.
The unemployment rate in Guyana continues to be high, and two main inhibiting factors are said to be lack of marketable skills and an inadequately educated population. But the administration is hoping to lower this rate soon. Kristen Macklingam spoke with the finance minister.
A recent study sanctioned by the Caribbean Development Bank revealed that Guyana's unemployment rate is persistently high, but government's policies are designed to lower unemployment through the creation of job opportunities. The two main contributing factors for Guyana's unemployment rate are school dropouts and the lack of marketable skills among many youth and women, and these are areas which are being addressed.
These two obstacles to Guyana's growth are made even more frightening when you consider that there is a perception that some youth want material gains while lacking the wherewithal to do so. As a result, crime is a resort.
Minister of Finance Winston Jordan. He explained that the younger population is being influenced by slogans representing negative thoughts, and these contribute to choices which young people make that have negative impacts on themselves and society.
Unfortunately, in our society, This is reflected through slogans in some public places, including our transport and even on our clothing. There is no denying that the mindset of some is to get rich quick or die trying, regardless of the means.
Minister Jordan added that many persons opt to look at the successes of others and often do not want to work for their own successes. In some cases, those who come from wealthy families may be provided for, but others need to make their lives better in positive ways.
But for those of you who do not have that privilege, the reality is you will have to work for your wealth, no matter how small it may be. That can only be done by the acquisition of skills through an education.
Reporting for HGP Nightly News, I am Kristen Macklingham.
Minister of State Joseph Harmon blazes Region 6 Chairman David Armagon for allegedly peddling what the minister termed serious propaganda in the East Berbice quarantine area. Here's Rodin James on this story.
Region 6 Chairman David Armagon was chided by Minister of State Joseph Harmon on Friday for apparently misleading Region 6 residents. Amid massive floods in Berbice, Armagon reportedly told Berbicians that some of the pumps are not functioning because the government has cut the budget for the region's RDC and therefore the funds were not available to buy fuel for the pumps to work.
Well, clearly this is a serious bit of propaganda by that regional official from the People's Progressive Party.
Minister Harmon clarified that the region was given a hefty budget to deal specifically with this issue, and upon checks of same, it was found that more than $200 million is yet to be spent.
The allocation is $309,773,000. It's under subhead 6231. To date, the region has spent $58,463,000. So there's an unspent balance of $251,309,000. You've spent 18.87% of the allocation. Under maintenance of drainage and irrigation, this is another head under which sums can be spent. The allocation is $257 million. To date, the region has spent $78,866,000.
Harmon disclosed other funds which the region can also spend for similar purposes. Mr. Armagon had reportedly said there is no other source of funding. The figures provided by the minister provided a different picture from Mr. Armagon's claim.
This is something that we want the people of Region 6 to understand, that regional officials and leadership of the region must act in accordance with their responsibility as leaders in the region, and that their primary concern is not the political stance of their party, but service to the people of the region that they have been elected to lead.
Mr. Harmon wants the Region 6 official to be more truthful of the statements he put out in the public domain. Royden James, HGP Nightly News.
Thank you, Royden. Despite millions spent on urging persons to use water sparingly, water is said to be wasted, mainly by consumers whose homes are not equipped with water meters. The GWI is not merely watching, but preparing to act. More from Jevon Vickery.
Chief Executive of the Guyana Water Incorporated, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, explained that water wastage continues to hurt the company, especially when wastage occurs at premises with one or more water tanks. Dr. Van West Charles further stated that preventing water wastage is important, especially as the company moves to provide 24-hour service with increased water pressure as against the usual 12-hour period. This is how the company plans to address the issue.
What we're coming out with in another two weeks, I think at most, is everyone will have an app on their phone. So we're trying to control the wastage of water. So you'll be able, if you see a leakage, you'll be able to take that picture and send it to us. And we will then activate our teams to go and correct that. And then also, I think you'll be able to, as a customer, to check your balances on your phone.
The chief executive further noted that before the end of 2017, an additional 40,000 water meters will be installed in key areas in and out of Georgetown. The undertaking will be funded by the Inter-America Development Bank and the European Union.
And that addresses the areas of Ifluk, Diamond, and Shitanko. So these three areas will take approximately about 15,000 meters. The other areas then will attract the other 25,000. We have about 92,000 customers that are unmetered.
He stated that the installation of meters in traditional areas known to be paying fixed charges will also address the company's revenue issues. Currently, the water company is owed $5 billion by its consumers.
When you're unmetered, you're at a sort of a fixed rate, way below the cost of production of the water. Not to say that the metered are actually paying the actual cost of the production, but that would improve the bottom line in respect to GWI.
Javon Vickery, HGP Nightly News.
Thank you, Javon. Guyana has the potential to cut imports and increase exports, but the process of manufacturing and packaging needs to be executed more efficiently. Christian Macklingham spoke with the Finance Minister, Winston Jordan, about how manufacturers and producers can get up to scratch.
The country needs to move forward in terms of exporting locally made products, but a number of Guyana's current exports do not meet export standards. That is according to Finance Minister Winston Jordan, who pointed out that funds are available to facilitate quality control, better packaging, and manufacturing to meet international requirements.
I talked about us having 2 abattoirs. We have already secured the money to put one in Region 5 and Region 9. I talked about standards. We have to have standards. We've already secured the money to build a modern lab, right? Hopefully we'll get some land near to the forensic lab where we can put this lab so that there are a lot of synergies between this lab and the forensic lab. Again, to assist in quality control, packaging and export.
Finance Minister Winston Jordan. Minister Jordan says it is the role of government to support its people and that for young budding entrepreneurs, grants can be obtained through the SLED program, which has a budget of $100 million.
Because it's very difficult for young people to go, anybody to be quite honest, but just young people to go to the commercial banking system and get any loan or so on. Here we're trying to help, we can't help everybody, but deserving ones to help start up their own business, particularly in manufacturing and agricultural enterprises.
The finance minister stated that the banking system can help individuals, but more often than not, those persons do not meet all the requirements for such loans. Hence, the administration has to continue to play a part in elevating the standards of local producers.
It is disheartening to see how many things can come from the smallest of islands in the Caribbean and sell it here, you know, while we can't penetrate the smallest of market in the Caribbean selling the same thing. I mean, do we need fudge from X island? Do we need plantain chip from Y island? You know, I mean, it's really heartbreaking to see these things happening.
Reporting for HGP Nightly News, I am Kristen Macklingham.
Thanks for staying true to the HGP Nightly News. The Minister of Public Telecommunications says the dynamics of the private sector is changing due to the use of advanced technology. She urged young entrepreneurs to take advantage of the possibilities. Javon Vickery sat with the minister and he reports now.
Minister of Public Telecommunications Catherine Hughes explained that because of the advancement of technology globally, buying and selling goods traditionally no longer defines the attributes of the private sector. She added that young entrepreneurs locally have already started to use the internet as a means of not only marketing products globally, but also to redefine old customs. The minister spoke specifically to the way Guyanese use public transportation.
I'd like to mention that in Guyana already there are 3 companies that have their own version of Uber. You got a group of people in Guyana that are not calling a taxi. And the taxi tell you he's coming in 5 minutes and you don't know where he is and you waiting 20 minutes. There are taxi companies that you can call and you can track the car that's coming to you.
Minister Hughes spoke at length about the growing demand for soursop leaves internationally. The fruit, just like the leaves, have now been medically proven to prevent several different types of cancer. Soursop leaves are being sold by a local distributor on Amazon.com.
Somebody right now really should be planting soursop trees on all these lands that we got, because that is where the demand in the next world, in the next decade, is going to be at. And so sometimes we get bogged down in the traditional business applications.
And with the dynamics of the private sector slowly changing locally, Minister Hughes is urging Guyanese, especially youths, to take advantage of the global market via the World Wide Web.
Times have changed, and I am excited that there's so many young people that are in those kinds of, are building those kinds of businesses. It's going to change the face of what we call the private sector today. The private sector of the future is not buying and selling, it's innovation.
Minister Hughes also applauded a recent loan agreement of $6 million towards a national payment plan system. It is aimed at improving the way money is handled locally. Javon Vickery, HG.
12 students with disabilities graduated after participating in a 6-month certified training program. Ayana George attended the graduation ceremony and reports now.
The training was provided by the Guyana Board of Industrial Training in collaboration with Harold B. Davis Special School, and the graduation ceremony took place at Ptolemy Reed Rehabilitation Center on Friday. 12 students with disabilities participated in a certified 6-month training course in cosmetology and cookery. Chief Executive Officer of the Board of Industrial Training, Maria Kellewan, stated that persons with disabilities will not be shut out of society.
We, as a ministry, are overall committed to the provision of services and vocational training for differently abled persons. This would have been comprehensively addressed in the 2017 and 2016 budget, where we're not only working with this organization, but also other organizations in the spectrum, the Guyana Council of Organizations for Persons with Disabilities.
The graduates were taught basic skills, which are expected to build their self-esteem and capabilities to face the world of work. Head of the Vocational Training Center, Rajday Ali, further related to the parents of the students that they should be supportive to their children to acquire their education.
We all have different gifts and strengths, and to create an educational system where only one type of learning is preferred is absurd, not only unfair, but it sacrifices the God-given abilities of a child and the world at large. The best advice I could give a student and the parents of these graduating students is to figure out how your child learns.
The graduating class staged a performance during the ceremony depicting courage. Reporting for HGP Nightly News, Ayana George.
I'm Calvin Chapman with the HGP Sportscast. Good evening. Basketball fans and players will have 6 months of continuous indoor and outdoor action as the Georgetown Basketball Association, GABA, officially launched its league yesterday at Banks DIH Thirst Park. The tournament will feature 10 teams competing in first, second, and under-23 divisions, with game days set for Saturdays and Sundays, as well as Wednesdays and Thursdays. According to GABA President Adrian Hooper, the league will begin outdoors due to the unavailability of the sports hall. He added that GABA have done to boost the competition is to add second division back to the league to have everybody playing basketball. The tournament will feature the Colts, Ravens, Cobras, Guardians, Pepsi Sonics, Nets, Knights, Trojans, Pace Setters, and Eagles. Bounce-off time is 18 hours on Sunday at the Burnham Hard Court. In cricket, the Guyana Cricket Board will be hosting its female under-19 T20 Inter-County Tournament from Friday, 7th July 2017. Competing in the tournament are Essequibo, Berbice, Demerara, and President's 11 teams. The tournament is scheduled to be conducted for 3 days over the weekend, with the third round concluding on Sunday, 9th July 2017. All matches will be played at the Everest Cricket Club ground and will entail of 2 matches daily. Today's match witnessed Essequibo competing with Demerara from 9 hours and Berbice doing battle with President's 11 from 13 hours. The results of those and upcoming matches will be brought to you in subsequent sportscast. Futsal news. The eagerly anticipated 5th edition of the Guinness Greatest of the Streets National Playoffs begins tonight in the mining town of Linden and will be played over 3 days in different locations, with the West Demerara and Georgetown being the other communities that will witness 16 teams from 6 zones battle for the coveted first prize and bragging rights for 1 year. Georgetown will be represented by Sparta Boss, who is also the reigning title holders, and 2015 champions as well. Inaugural winners Back Circle, who won the title in 2013, Tugville and Broad Street, while Dave and Selena All-Stars of Linden, Swag Entertainment, and German and Family Silver Bullets will be representing the mining town. The East Coast of Demerara representatives are Melanie B, champions, Pleasance B and Buxton Diamond, while showstoppers, Hustlers and Money Team are the West Demerara, East Bank Demerara ambassadors. New Amsterdam Kings and East Bank Gunners are the Berbice representatives, while Riverview will be the sole entry from Bartica. Meanwhile, the fixtures for tonight will see New Amsterdam Kings tackle Melanie B at 20 hours, and this encounter will be followed by the clash between Swag Entertainment and Buxton Diamond from 20:45 hours, with at least 6 games slated. On the regional scene, we tell you now that India completed the series victory against the West Indies 3-1 in the 5-match ODI Caribbean contest. In the 5th match, played at Sabina Park in Jamaica, the West Indies needed a win to draw the series, but after being bowled out for a meager 205, their chances were slim. In reply, India reached the target in 37 overs. Their captain, Virat Kohli, became the first batsman to score 18 centuries when chasing targets, surpassing former Indian captain Sachin Tendulkar's record of 17. Kohli chased totals 102 times and scored 1800s, while Tendulkar scored 1700s from 232 innings chasing. Let's take a look at some of the game highlights. And that's all we have for you now on the HGP Sportscast. It's now back to you, Travis.
Lots are in store for you, Gaisuku tells East Coast sugar workers. WPA says there is no Ministry of the Public Service. Harman says there is such a ministry. I rest my case. And GWI to introduce new technology to prevent water wastage. Those were our major headlines. For these stories and more, you can go to our website. It's www.hgptv.com. I'm Travis Chase. Thanks for watching. Your weekend review comes up Saturday and Sunday. Goodbye.